The story begins in the middle of chaos. Cadet Ilex's triple heart is failing. Somebody get the stasis pack. Jenna's voice thundered through the training simulation. The alien cadets stared in frozen horror at the green ichor oozing from their teammate's chest. Forget the stasis pack. Hand me that adhesive and yes, that plasma blade. The human's audacity stunned them into motion. The hum of the shuttle's engines filled the cabin, a low vibration thrumming beneath the feet of the assembled cadets. Inside, an eclectic mix of species sat strapped into their seats, their expressions ranging from eager anticipation to quiet apprehension. Lieutenant Rhea Morgan stood at the front, her sharp eyes scanning the room. She had seen her fair share of training missions, but this one felt different. A subtle tension lingered in the air, an unspoken doubt in her abilities that she had come to expect whenever aliens worked alongside humans. Listen up! Rhea's voice cut through the hum. This is a standard survival drill, but don't get comfortable. The environment down there is unpredictable, and your ability to work together is the key to getting through it. This isn't about strength, it's about adaptability. A skeptical chitter came from the far side of the cabin. Threxel Vark, a Quilran xenobiologist, sat rigidly, his iridescent blue exoskeleton gleaming under the shuttle's artificial lighting. His mandibles clicked in what Rhea had learned to interpret as disapproval. Adaptability, he repeated, his tone laced with skepticism. An interesting word for humans. Your methods are primitive, at best. I hope your reputation for improvisation doesn't translate to recklessness. Rhea smirked. Improvisation saves lives, Commander. You might learn something today. Before Threxel could retort, the shuttle jolted violently. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered. A voice crackled over the comms. Structural failure detected. Brace for impact. The cadets barely had time to react before the shuttle plummeted toward the rocky moon below. Rhea grabbed onto the nearest handrail, muscles tensed. A violent impact sent a tremor through her bones, and the world around her blurred into chaos. The next thing she registered was the harsh, metallic tang of blood and the crackling sound of electrical fires. Rhea groaned, blinking through the smoke filling the shuttle. Around her, cadets struggled to their feet, dazed but mostly unharmed. Then she heard it, a sharp, pained wheeze. Turning, her stomach dropped. Cadet Cycle, a delicate avian species, lay crumpled against the bulkhead. A deep gash in his slender torso pulsed with dark, viscous blood. His breathing was rapid and shallow, his black eyes wide with fear. Stay calm, Rhea said, dropping to her knees beside him. She pressed 2 fingers to his throat, feeling the weak flutter of his pulse. You're going to be fine. The surrounding alien cadets hovered uncertainly, their eyes darting to one another, unsure of how to proceed. Threxel pushed forward, peering at the injury with clinical detachment. We need to wait for medical assistance, he declared. His anatomy is delicate. Applying pressure could do more harm than good. He's bleeding out. Rhea shot back, already rummaging through her field pack. Waiting isn't an option. Threxel's mandibles flared in alarm. You intend to treat him with your barbaric human techniques? Rhea ignored him, tearing a strip from her uniform sleeve and pressing it against Cycle's wound. The cadet let out a strangled cry, and several aliens flinched at the sound. Hold him steady, she ordered, her voice brooking no argument. Hesitant hands reached out to assist, but their hesitation grated on her nerves. She reached for the emergency heat blade strapped to her thigh and flicked it on, the blade glowing a dull orange. What are you? Threxel's voice rose in protest. Cauterizing, Rhea replied curtly. Without hesitation, she pressed the blade against the wound. Cycle shrieked in pain before his body slumped, unconscious. The sharp scent of burning flesh filled the cabin, and Rhea exhaled, releasing the tension she hadn't realized she was holding. The cadets stared at her in stunned silence, a mixture of horror and awe written across their features. That was extreme, muttered a reptilian cadet, his scales shifting nervously. It worked, Rhea snapped, wiping sweat from her brow. And he's alive! She turned to Threxel. Sometimes survival isn't pretty, Commander. Threxel's mandibles clicked, but this time, he said nothing. We need to move, Rhea said, standing. The shuttle systems are fried, and we don't know how stable this terrain is. Everyone grab what you can and prep to move out. As they gathered supplies, she felt the weight of their gazes. Fear, uncertainty, and something else, something closer to respect. Threxel finally spoke, his voice quieter but still edged with resistance. You may have saved him, but we're stranded here without communication. What's your plan now, Lieutenant? Rhea tightened her pack straps, scanning the barren landscape beyond the cracked shuttle door. Jagged rocks stretched as far as the eye could see, the atmosphere thin and unforgiving. First, we find shelter. Then we figure out how to get off this rock. She turned back to the cadets. And next time, trust me before someone else gets hurt. They filed out into the harsh environment, the alien stars casting an eerie glow over the moon's rocky surface. Rhea knew the real challenge was only beginning. The wind howled across the barren landscape, kicking up fine, silvery dust that clung to everything it touched. Lieutenant Rhea Morgan led the group through the treacherous terrain, her boots crunching against the rocky surface. Every step forward was a battle against the elements. The cadets followed in a tight formation, their expressions a mix of exhaustion and wariness. Keep moving, Rhea called over the wind, her voice firm but steady. We need to find higher ground before that storm hits. The dark clouds in the distance churned ominously, streaked with flashes of violet lightning that crackled across the sky. The planet's thin atmosphere provided little protection against its brutal weather patterns, and Rhea knew they didn't have long before they'd be swallowed whole. Lieutenant, Threxel's voice came from behind. We've been walking for hours. My calculations suggest that without proper atmospheric filters, our oxygen levels will deplete within 3 cycles. We'll find shelter before that happens, Rhea replied, scanning the rocky outcrops ahead. There's a ridge up there. If we're lucky, it might offer some cover. The alien cadets exchanged nervous glances. Rhea noticed their hesitation and frustration growing. Their training had prepared them for controlled environments, not the harsh unpredictability of real survival scenarios. She had to keep them focused. Stay sharp, she said, gesturing for them to keep moving. The first rule of survival is adapt, interrupted a reptilian cadet, his voice strained. Yes, we've heard it a dozen times. Then show me you've learned something. Rhea shot back, picking up the pace. As they neared the ridge, Cadet Cycle, now awake but weak, stumbled slightly. Rhea instinctively reached out, steadying him. His dark eyes flickered with gratitude, but his voice was barely above a whisper. I don't understand how you, humans, endure this. The pain, the uncertainty. We don't have a choice, Rhea replied simply. We push through, no matter what. From the front, a sharp whistle broke the tense atmosphere. One of the cadets, a feline-like Celtari, crouched low and pointed toward a strange, jagged outcrop. Something's off about that formation, he said, his tail twitching uneasily. It doesn't look natural. Rhea approached cautiously, eyes narrowing as she examined the structure. It was too symmetrical, too precise. When she knelt and brushed away the layer of dust covering it, metallic etchings gleamed beneath her fingertips. This isn't rock, she muttered. It's artificial. Threxel stepped forward, his eyes widening. Impossible. This moon was classified as barren. Then someone got their facts wrong, Rhea said. She pressed a hand to the cold metal surface. Let's see if there's a way inside. The group fanned out, scanning the surrounding area. It didn't take long before they found an entrance, an angular hatch partially buried beneath debris. The feline cadet hissed in surprise. Looks old, but intact. Rhea inspected the entrance, running her hands over the edges. It was alien tech, unfamiliar yet eerily similar to human design principles. We should check it out, she said. It might have supplies, maybe even a way to call for help. Threxel hesitated. We have no idea what's inside. Entering unknown structures without proper assessment is unwise. So is dying out here, Rhea countered. I'll go first. Stay behind me and stay alert. With a deep breath, she activated the emergency plasma cutter from her pack and sliced through the hatch's corroded seals. The door groaned in protest before sliding open, revealing a dark corridor stretching into the depths of the structure. Rhea stepped inside, flashlight sweeping across walls covered in faded markings. The air inside was stale but breathable. The corridor led to what appeared to be a control room filled with dormant consoles and strange cylindrical devices. Some of the cadets followed, their eyes wide with curiosity and apprehension. "This place is ancient," one of them murmured. "Who built it?" Rhea moved toward one of the consoles, wiping away centuries of dust. "Doesn't matter. What matters is if we can use it." As she examined the panel, a sudden flicker of movement caught her eye. Before she could react, the floor trembled beneath them. A low, guttural sound echoed through the chamber, sending a chill down her spine. "Movement!" shouted the reptilian cadet, raising his weapon. From the shadows, a massive insectoid creature emerged, its segmented limbs clicking against the metal floor. Its multifaceted eyes glowed a sickly green, and a thick, resin-like substance dripped from its mandibles. "Run!" Rhea barked, shoving the nearest cadet back toward the exit. Panic erupted as the creature lunged forward with terrifying speed. Rhea fired a pulse round into its carapace, but the impact only seemed to enrage it further. It reared up, emitting a piercing screech. "Move, move, move!" Rhea shouted, covering their retreat. The cadets scrambled through the narrow passageway, emerging back into the open just as the creature slammed against the now sealed hatch behind them. The force of the impact reverberated through the ground. Breathless, Rhea scanned the group. "Is everyone okay?" Her gaze landed on Zykel, who nodded weakly. "Good. That thing's not coming out anytime soon." Threxel exhaled sharply. "And I suppose you'll claim your reckless approach saved us?" "No," Rhea replied, wiping sweat from her brow. "I'll say it bought us time." The wind had grown stronger, whipping around them as the storm approached. Rhea squared her shoulders, motioning toward a nearby rocky overhang. "We set up shelter here. No more surprises tonight." As they huddled beneath the natural formation, Rhea could see the shaken expressions on their faces. She knew they were questioning everything: protocol, their training, their own survival instincts. She could almost hear their doubts. "You're all still here," she said, her voice cutting through the wind. "And that means you're learning. Keep that up, and we'll make it off this moon." Threxel studied her for a long moment before nodding, albeit begrudgingly. "Your methods are unorthodox, Lieutenant. But effective." Rhea smirked, settling in beside the others. "Welcome to human first aid, Commander." The storm raged overhead, but inside their shelter, a quiet determination settled over the group. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were adapting. The storm battered their makeshift shelter with relentless force, the howling winds echoing through the rocky overhang like a beast prowling the dark. Lightning split the sky in violent bursts, casting eerie shadows across the group huddled inside. Lieutenant Rhea Morgan adjusted the heat module she'd salvaged from the crashed shuttle, its feeble glow offering little comfort against the biting cold. The cadets sat close, their exhaustion etched into every alien face. Tension hung heavy in the stale air, the weight of the past hours pressing down on them all. Zykel, still weak but conscious, leaned against the rocky wall, his usually sharp eyes dulled with fatigue. "We can't stay here forever," muttered the reptilian cadet, his scaled hands wringing together. "The storm will pass, but that thing in the structure won't." "We don't have to stay," Rhea said, her voice steady. "We just have to hold out long enough to find another way off this rock." Threxel, seated opposite her, regarded her with a calculating stare. "And your solution is to do what exactly? Hope another shuttle miraculously appears? We have no communications, limited resources, and an injured cadet who needs proper medical attention." Rhea met his gaze without flinching. "We adapt, Commander. Like I said before, it's what humans do." Threxel's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Adaptation without proper planning is recklessness. We have no data, no clear plan, only instincts, and those are notoriously unreliable." Rhea exhaled, leaning back against the cool stone. Instincts are what's kept us alive so far. She turned her gaze to the group. But we're not going to make it out of this by arguing. We need solutions. The feline cadet, who had remained silent since their escape from the alien structure, raised a cautious paw. The ancient technology, there might be something there we can use. Even if it's dangerous, we need to go back. Rhea glanced at Cycle, his breathing still labored. That's a risk we can't take, not with him in this condition. I can stay behind, Cycle said weakly, his voice trembling. You'll need speed. I'd only slow you down. No, Rhea said firmly. We stick together. Threxel sighed. We're running out of options, Lieutenant. If there's a chance that structure holds working systems, we should take it. Rhea studied his expression, searching for signs of hesitation. She saw none. For once, he wasn't questioning her authority. He was agreeing with her judgment. It was a small victory, but it meant they had a chance. All right, Rhea finally said. We move at first light. The morning came in a dim, muted haze, the storm having left a blanket of fine dust across the rocky landscape. Rhea led the group back toward the buried structure, the tension palpable with every step closer. As they approached the entrance, the hatch remained sealed shut, but deep claw marks now marred the outer frame, evidence that the creature inside had tried to break free. Rhea motioned for silence and gestured toward the feline cadet. You said there might be systems we can use. What are we looking for? The cadet's keen eyes scanned the structure. Power cores, communication relays, anything that might still have enough charge left. Rhea nodded and pressed a hand to the cold metal. Then let's find it fast. Inside, the corridors were darker than before, the air thick with an oppressive stillness. Rhea led cautiously, her pulse steady but heightened, senses sharpened by the lingering threat of the creature that lurked in the shadows. Every footstep echoed unnervingly. The faint hum of dormant machinery vibrated through the walls, a reminder that this place wasn't entirely dead. They moved carefully, searching each corridor until they reached a central control room. The feline cadet scurried to a console and began working through the interface. The systems are ancient, but there's something here, he muttered. I think I can activate a distress beacon. Do it, Rhea urged, glancing back toward the entrance. Threxel moved closer to Rhea. And if it attracts more than just rescue? We'll deal with that when we have to, she replied without hesitation. The console flickered to life, and a deep, resonating hum filled the chamber. Lights powered on, revealing intricate circuitry snaking across the walls like veins. The beacon pulsed weakly, sending out a faint signal into the void. Signal's weak, the cadet said, his tail twitching. But it's something. A distant clatter snapped Rhea's attention toward the corridor they had come from. Time's up. Move now! They rushed toward the exit, but the creature emerged from the shadows, its bulbous eyes locking onto them with predatory intent. It lunged, its multi-limbed form skittering across the floor with horrifying speed. Rhea fired a shot, hitting one of its limbs, slowing it momentarily. Go, go, go! She shouted. Threxel, for once, didn't argue. He helped Cycle, while the others scrambled toward the exit. The creature let out a piercing screech, its mandibles snapping inches from Rhea's face before she dove out of the way. Outside, she sealed the hatch, locking the creature inside once more. They backed away, breathing hard. The signal? Threxel panted. Sent, the feline cadet confirmed, eyes wide with relief. They stared at the now sealed structure, its ancient secrets still buried beneath layers of time and dust. But for now, it was a prison for whatever lurked inside. Rhea turned to Threxel, wiping sweat from her brow. Still think improvisation is reckless? Threxel studied her for a long moment before offering the smallest nod. I may have misjudged certain human qualities. A small smile tugged at Rhea's lips. I'll take that as a compliment. As the group settled back in their temporary shelter, the distant shimmer of a rescue beacon blinked against the alien horizon. Help was on the way. Rhea allowed herself a moment of relief, sitting beside Zykel and checking his vitals. He gave her a tired smile. You saved us, he whispered. She shrugged. That's what humans do. The others gathered around, their exhaustion giving way to a shared sense of survival and unity. Even Threxel sat quietly, his usual skepticism tempered by what they had endured together. As the first signs of their rescue vessel streaked through the sky, Rhea exhaled deeply. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and survived, together. And perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had earned a little more respect among the stars. The distant shimmer of the rescue vessel descending through the storm-laden sky was a welcome sight, but Rhea Morgan knew better than to relax just yet. The cadets stood in a tense cluster, their eyes fixed on the approaching craft. The rhythmic thrum of its engines cut through the howling wind, promising salvation. Hold your positions, Rhea ordered, her voice calm but firm. She scanned the perimeter, the barren landscape stretching in every direction. Even with the rescue imminent, the planet felt hostile, as if it resented their presence. Threxel stood beside her, his posture unusually subdued. Your methods, they were unconventional, he admitted, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. But undeniably effective. Rhea allowed herself a small smile. Coming from you, I'll take that as a win. Before he could reply, the rescue shuttle landed with a hiss of depressurization. Its ramp lowered, revealing a team of medics and security personnel. They rushed toward the group, assessing injuries and stabilizing Zykel, who still clung to consciousness with quiet resilience. A stocky human medic knelt beside him, running a scanner over his wounds. You did good keeping him stable, he said, nodding at Rhea. Field work? Experience, she replied simply, stepping aside to let them work. As the team secured the injured cadet for transport, one of the security officers, a towering Dracian with crimson plating, approached Rhea. His gaze lingered on the sealed alien structure in the distance. You encountered hostiles? He asked, his deep voice carrying a note of concern. Yeah, Rhea said, crossing her arms. One inside, but it's locked down, for now. The officer nodded. We'll send a team to investigate. Your report will be crucial. Rhea exhaled, feeling the weight of the past hours settle on her shoulders. Yeah, I figured. As the last of the cadets were ushered into the shuttle, Rhea glanced at the group she had led through the ordeal. The once skeptical expressions had softened. Even Threxel, for all his rigid beliefs, now regarded her with something close to respect. You proved something today, Lieutenant, he said quietly. Human adaptability may be more valuable than I previously believed. About time you caught on, Rhea replied, her lips curving in a tired smirk. We don't break easy. As they ascended into the ship's interior, the cabin was filled with exhausted relief. The cadets exchanged tired but grateful looks, their shared experience forging an unspoken bond. Rhea took a seat beside Zykel, who, despite the pain, managed a small smile. I thought I was done for, he admitted, his voice weak. You didn't give up on me. That's not how we do things, Rhea replied, patting his shoulder gently. We fight until we can't anymore. As the shuttle lifted off, leaving the barren moon behind, Rhea found herself gazing out the viewport, watching the hostile landscape shrink into the distance. She wondered how many other secrets lay buried beneath its surface, waiting to be unearthed. Threxel settled into the seat across from her, his usual stiff demeanor softened by exhaustion. I believe I owe you an apology, Lieutenant, he said after a long pause. Rhea raised an eyebrow. An apology? For what? For underestimating you, he admitted. And your species. Rhea chuckled softly. You wouldn't be the first. But you're not wrong to be cautious. We do things differently, sometimes messy, sometimes reckless, but we get results. Threxel nodded, considering her words. I suppose there is value in your flexibility. Their conversation was interrupted by the voice of the shuttle pilot over the intercom. ETA to Fleet Command, 15 minutes. Debriefing will commence upon arrival. Rhea leaned back in her seat, letting her eyes drift shut for a moment. She knew the debriefing wouldn't be easy, explaining the alien structure, the creature inside, and the near disaster they'd narrowly escaped. But for now, she allowed herself a brief respite. As they approached the fleet, Rhea opened her eyes, watching the massive starships loom closer through the viewport. She turned to the cadets, their expressions filled with newfound respect and understanding. "We made it," she said, the weight of their survival settling in. "And next time," Threxel added, his tone dry but tinged with a rare hint of humor, "perhaps we'll consider your barbaric methods a little sooner." Rhea grinned. "I'll hold you to that, Commander." As the shuttle docked and the cabin doors opened to the safety of the fleet, Rhea stepped onto the platform with the others, feeling the weight lift from her shoulders. The mission had been far from perfect, but they had survived, adapted, and most importantly, learned. Walking alongside the cadets, Rhea couldn't help but feel a quiet sense of pride. They had faced the unknown and come out stronger for it. And that, she thought, was the true mark of humanity.